We are talking today about AI readiness and how to evaluate your business, mid to large size enterprise level company, to see where you are on your progression. We're going to be looking at some different models, and we're also going to be looking at how to evaluate the different subcomponents that are contributing towards your progression along that evolutionary stage. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is the readiness stages. What I'm showing here is very Gartner with these 5. You may have a different way of slicing it. There are also some other models you can look at from McKinsey or Forrester. But in essence, I kind of like the Gartner one because it does kind of cover at a high level these 5 different stages, and we're going to go deeper into each one of them now. So in the awareness stage, your company knows that you need AI. You're still gathering information, you're learning, but you don't have a budget yet. You don't have a department for AI. You don't have a roadmap and all these other things. So you're just trying to build understanding, strategy, will, and so forth, the will to actually put it into place. The next stage is exploratory. So here you're doing more of an experimentation driven approach. This could be also tools. I would say, if you look at my other videos, exploratory is great, but I wouldn't use this as the foundation to move further. It's really good for building confidence. It's good for seeing how certain AI systems and tools can be beneficial for earning that trust or at least interest or building a little bit of that positive hype inside your company of like, wow, we should really be using this. Look at the potential that this has. Once you get to the next stage, now we have AIs being operationalized within the company, at least in one area. And to be really fully at this third kind of stage, there should also be governance in place for AI and policies like how you should be using it, how you should not be using it, how to be safe with your data, and so forth. But there's at least one project or product or service inside the company that has been institutionalized with AI services. This next one is basically the same as the previous one, except now it's been broadcast throughout the company. There's different teams using AI. There's probably some kind of AI leader or team around AI implementation. There's a roadmap, there's a budget, then we've got these different things being integrated and AI improved throughout the different company, different places. All right, the last step is transformational. So here I would say, some companies actually start with their products and services that integrate AI. Others, they start with internal. I think it's very common to see companies that focus first on cost reduction and time reduction rather than revenue increases or new revenue streams from AI. But that is kind of like the natural conclusion. Here, if that's not where your company's starting, but here with transformational, we're talking about there's no real distinction between some parts of the business don't have AI and others do, because really the whole business is AI. There's AI in all different parts. I don't know if necessarily every single company needs to reach this stage. I think if you're already at the systematized stage number 4, you're already really far ahead. And for some companies, that might be sufficient. So in terms of maturity levels, so there's this concept here that reapplies, which is that chain. So you're really as strong as the weakest link that you might have. These are 7 different areas that you can assess your company in. And then based on where you're doing in each of these 7, wherever your weakest is where you need to really work on next in order to be able to move up that progression for those different evolutionary steps more easily, right? So strategy. All right, so there has to be an alignment of business goals. You have to be thinking about your ROI. You want things to be tangible and concrete. You should be thinking about how AI is going to be helping you also competitively and so forth. So this strategy component is really important so that we know what we're doing and why we're doing what we are. Also, then the next one is, what is the value that your AI products, projects, services are generating? Are you tracking the value? This value could be time or money, right? It doesn't have to be just in dollars. If it's AI for your products and services, how is it improving those? If it's AI internally, how is it improving your time management, time efficiencies, or internal costs, reducing your bottom line? Governance, do you have governance in place? Do you have policies about AI systems? Some companies start off by just saying no AI can be used at all. That's like a 0 point. But then as you enable your company to be using AI, how are you doing that? And how structured have you made it? And what oversight do you have as well? So that means how much information do you get or know about who's doing what with AI usage? So so that you can make sure that people are compliant and following rules and not jeopardizing your IP of your company by sharing things with AI systems that are not secure or safe, for example. Engineering, so this could be internal within your organization or external, but this is essentially a measure of how mature your team is with the AI implementation, with planning. If you're doing data, with data science, data engineering, if you're doing model training or machine learning, there's all different parts of AI, but how evolved is your tech? And then also your team, and then finally your processes, your development, and also environment processes all around that. And let's not forget also monitoring and maintenance aspects as well. It's not enough to just build these systems. You have to have the right tools, methods, policies, and processes in place in order to keep them up to date and maintained and constantly improving. All right, so for data, here we're assessing, do you have data? What's the quality of your data? How is data being created? How are you organizing it? But also your policies around data capture, retention. What can you do with the data? So the capabilities of that. And then finally, if you have data that's being used for your systems, how are you then improving that data over time? That's the training data management. Very important with AI systems. And then finally, no, not finally, one before finally, the number 6 is the operating models. So do you have a centralized AI team? Do you have AI leadership, a center of excellence, or an AI director? I've seen companies where their IT director becomes their AI director. Whatever works for your organization, but is there someone in charge of your actual AI operations for the roadmap planning? And do they have a budget, right, that they can actually exercise? And then the last one here, this is culture and people. This is a lot of change management. I have another video on AI change management you can watch. But essentially, how are you acquiring and developing your existing talent? What kind of a mindset do you have? How important is AI to your organization? Have you expressed urgency? Do you have good leadership and so forth? Watch my other video if you want to get more details on that for sure. All right. So if we look at the low maturity, lower levels of those different 7 domains, these are kind of the common things that come up. So there might be challenges where people can't find the right place to apply AI, or they may have problems with not knowing how to create data or find the data, or they stop early because they're like, oh, we don't even have data. How are we ever going to do any of this? And then they don't realize that there are solutions to that problem. Could be lack of AI knowledge, experience, literacy, meaning knowing what AI can and cannot do, or just like no budget, right? And then once you get to the higher maturity levels, you get different kinds of barriers or challenges. They don't go away, but they become things like you're worried about security at this point. Could be around bias or ethics, but also what's the quality of your data, or you have a lot of data, but now you have to figure out the patterns in the data to make it useful, or you're having now you might have great solutions, but they're not integrated together, or you want to be able to build something, but you have to solve that integration problem. And that also kind of segues into the scaling challenges that you might have once you have AI in a department or in one system, and you want to figure out how to branch that out and how to plan that to be propagated to other parts of the company. So in terms of assessing your readiness, if we look at these 7 domains that we just covered, so strategy through to culture and people, you can identify within each of them, you could come with some kind of a level of how good you are in each of those 7 domains. And then you can evaluate where you need to work on it the most. Evaluation methods, classic. So interviews, you can develop questionnaires with questions around each one for your own team and yourself. You can do research using your favorite AI program to work with it to help you evaluate how you're doing at each level. And then, of course, also collect some evidence of your sophistication within that level. So if you have people who are doing AI projects internally, what is their skill level within that? What kind of a team do you already have there? And so forth. It'd be an example of evidence collection, but it could also be data, right? How well organized is the data? Is your data accessible? And so forth. And if you put that all together, you might end up with this kind of a view where you can see strategy, value, governance, right? Those different levels are mapped at the bottom. Different domains, are mapped at the bottom. And then to each of those domains, you can assign that level score that you come up with. And as you do that, you'll see which ones are the lowest point here in this example. It's the level 1 is on strategy and value and operations. So this would imply that the company has people within it who are very pro AI, like AI first is the culture. There's some data, some experience internally, probably some experimentation is going on. Um, People are very concerned about governance, so policies, and that has been kind of tackled up front, which is great. But now we need to get upper management leadership to get on board, drive projects that are focused on the value that they're going to create, and then operationalize it with a budget and a team. So, for example, that would be this picture, right? And so, if this was your view, that would be where you'd want to focus. If you have your strategy and your value, for example, high, the governance is really low, like a 1 or a 2, then you want to prioritize that and work on that right away. That's your highest priority to be doing first. So all of this to say, this kind of modeling of your readiness can also be very helpful for your organization, because you can decide then and figure out where it is you need to apply attention and focus internally before you even start implementing these projects. So I hope you found this useful. I'm trying to keep my videos a little bit shorter. Let me know your feedbacks, comments. If you liked the video, a like, common story with YouTube. Likes are helpful. They get more people to see the videos. And thank you so much for following my channel. All right, take care. Bye-bye.